Hello, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The Hard Choice, Simple Steps for Showing Up. My name is Brad Draper. I'm going to fix this mic. I am your host. Let's do this. We got with me Yo-Yo.
What up?
Johansson.
Yes.
And I've known Yo for a while, and I wanted to bring Yo on. This is the second month in a row, if you pay attention, that I have a very specific type of person. But I'm really, really excited how this landed out and how this came to be. There's so many of my listeners and you guys that want to leave where you're at. You have this call, this pull on where you're at in corporate, and then to do your own thing. You kind of have this inkling, but it's scary AF. And so I wanted to bring Yo on. Yo came from corporate. Yo was high in corporate and then decided to do his own thing. And it's something that I've loved to watch his journey. I saw it pretty early on. And I have connections to his former life, which is super cool. We later found out about that. So, Yo, welcome to The Hard Choice, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you being on, you know, so bringing me on here. I think when I saw your text, I was like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
I had no idea what it's about.
Right.
But now I do.
Yeah.
This is going to be good. This is something that I'm passionate about for sure.
So tell me a little bit, give us a little brief 50,000 foot view.
So a couple of years ago, I'm talking 2019 is when I officially quit the corporate environment. And there's a backstory behind that. So, you know, my health was not doing well at the time when I was working with that specific company. And when I got married and I told my wife, I was like, okay, we gotta make some changes. So then I decided to hire a coach. That coach changed my life and gave me a different perspective and then where I could go with it, right? And at the time, I was still working for that company. I'm going to tell you right now, like immediately after I did my first show, I was hooked. I wanted to become a coach. I wanted to do my own. I didn't think that I was going to do my own thing though. Like I was going to work under my coach's company. He brought me in as a coach, as a client, and then he turned me in as a coach. He mentored me a little bit, which is what I'm grateful for. And then 2 years after that, I decided to split off that company, that coaching company, and then created my own company called Unfinished Lifestyle, right? But back before that, I'm going to tell you guys something though. When I decided to do my own thing and I told my boss at the time and I said, his name is Dan, I'm going to say it. His name is Dan. I was like, hey, Dan, I want to do this for me. I have passion in health and nutrition and helping people to lose weight, lose fat, gain muscle, live a healthier lifestyle. And in his mind, he thinks that I'm just going to be a personal trainer, right? There's a difference. There's a difference between a personal trainer and a coach. Anybody can become a personal trainer. So when I told him that, he said to me, he was like, yo, he was like, you can stay for another year or two and then you can make 100K or more. Why don't you just stay? And I said, Dan, I love you, but I don't care if you pay me $1 million to stay because this is not something that I wanted. My passion is so different. And I knew at that time, like it wasn't the right spot for me anymore. Don't get me wrong. Like the paycheck was nice. Every 2 weeks, I get paid. Right. That's how they hook you because it's salary, right? Like they want you to stay. And then they'll tell you, I'm like, hey man, I'll give you 5%, increase next year, the next year after that. And then the next year after that. So they just want to hook you. Right. And so I didn't really buy into that, and I hated being there. And it's not because of him directly, but it's just how the company was ran under him. It's just I just didn't agree with it, and I feel like I'm just running in circles, and I'm just wasting my time, to be honest with you. Like I'm literally wasting my time. I remember showing up to work, and I just sat there pretending like I was working the entire day, and I didn't do shit. I literally just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, well, why am I doing this? I don't care how much money I make. Why am I have no purpose, right? So when I told him that I wanted to do this, he said to me, same thing. Hey, you could stay, you can make 100K, whatever. And I said, okay. And he goes, you know why I'm telling you this? Right before I quit, he said, because all personal trainers that I know, they're all broke, to my face, in his office. And I just sat there and I said, okay, well, Dan, I'm sorry you feel that way. But this is something that I'm passionate about. It's something that I want to do. So, I'm going to leave regardless. I'm going to finish out the month. I'm going to help you transition, and I'm going to do my own thing. And so I didn't even make it a full month. I think I made it for like 2 weeks because I stopped showing up, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And that moment, and when I told my wife about that conversation, and then I told everybody about it, and they were all like really mad, at Dan or whatever. I'm like, no, I'm not mad I wasn't mad at him. I took the energy and I applied it to
Yeah.
what I wanted to do. And then 2 years later, right? 2 years later, after I created my own company after that, he had the audacity to text me and said, "Hey man, I'm doing this video thing, for my Instagram, and I want you to, if you can do a 2-minute video about how I inspire you to be an entrepreneur." Yeah. He said that to me. And I looked at the text and I just liked it. I said, "No, thank you." That was it. He had the audacity to do that.
Yeah.
So, the point is, you're going to get to the point where you hate your job so much. You wake up every morning with stress. You hated the drive to work. You don't see any positivity. You don't see any light in the tunnel. You're just going through this monotonous cycle of Monday through Friday, Monday through Friday. The next thing you know, 5 years goes by, 10 years goes by. Regardless of what you do, the time's going to pass. So do something that you absolutely love, even if it means that you don't make money maybe the first month, maybe the first year, maybe the first 3 to 5 years.
Right.
But at least you're doing something that you absolutely love. And I was fortunate at that time because my wife supported me.
That's huge. That
She-
was huge.
She supported me, and she had a job at the time, so we can make a living still. And I remember, man, like my first year. So this is going to be 2019 going into 2020. I remember that first year of coaching.
That's when we met.
Yes.
2020.
And I remember my first year of coaching. My wife every month, "Hey babe, I think you need a second job. Hey babe, I think we need to think about, getting some form of income or something that I can do to make money." And every month she always tells me that. And then I always say, "Hey, you know what? Like, give me some time. Just give me some time. Let's make it this month. Let's make it this month." And I remember that November and December that year, 2019, we couldn't pay our car payments on time. So it was late. I think it was like 30 something days late on both months. And it did not credit bad. It was really, really bad. And I remember I was sitting at the gas station talking to my wife about it, about our bills. And then I said, "Babe, remember this moment." She goes, "Okay." And I said, "I want you to remember this moment right now because we will never be here ever again." And we haven't.
I love that.
My first year was tough. My second year, my income doubled. Boom. Finally, the credibility, the referrals, and people know that it's serious, right? And
Mhm.
that I'm doing this for a living, and not even support from my parents. That's the hard part. That was the hardest part. So when I created, and then 2020 Labor Day weekend, I created Unfinished Lifestyle because I needed to separate myself from the company that I was working before. I'm not going to say the company's name, but it was nutrition company. It was personal training company. Same thing what we do.
Mhm.
But I separate myself and I took all my clients with me. Even if the other company wanted to take it, they don't want to stay anyway. They want to work with me, which we're going to get to that in a second. And when I created it in 2020, I got, you get texts from your friends,
Mhm.
they call you and stuff, but it's friends, right? I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
But not a single call or a text from any family members when I launched it, except for one person. And that person is my wife's stepdad because he's an entrepreneur himself.
He gets it.
He gets it. And that call, try not to be emotional about it, but that call.
You can be emotional. It's all right. I cry all the time.
He called me and I was in shock. I was like, "Well, what the hell?" His name is Jim Whitmore. And I answered it and I said, I'm like, "Hey, Jim." And he was like, "Hey, man, I just want to let you know I'm proud of you. Congratulations on your business. I know what it's like. Let me know if you need some kind of investments, if you need any money, whatever help you want, whatever you need, give me a call." That was huge to me. So since then, I've always shared everything that I do with Unfinished Lifestyle. I call them from time to time and tell them, hey, appreciate you. Like, you're the only person that called me, not even my parents. My parents never really understood what I do until 2 years ago, actually. So back in 2022. And they stayed at my house for like 3 months, and they went to my seminars. You know, they went through my free training. They see what I do, the amount of money that I was making, and they're like, "Oh my God, yo, I'm proud of you." And those words, it took me really hard to digest because I never got a lot of that from my parents.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why parents are so hard to say, "Hey, man, I'm proud of you." It's really not that hard. I
Right.
say it to my kid all the time.
Or do you think you say it all the time because you never got it?
I Absolutely. 100%. I almost say like, I'm proud of you more than I do I love you. I mean, I do say I love you a lot too, but I say I'm proud of you all the time because that's always ingrained in my head because it's not that difficult to be a dad that show up for everything, right? And now that I have my own time, I make my own money, I make my own schedule. I'm there for his training lessons. I'm there for, we can go to Disney World if we wanted to. If we can go travel whenever we want. We don't have to, I don't have to go to HR and be like, hey,
Yeah.
I need
Request time
I need
off.
to take this weekend off, week off. I don't have to do that anymore. And so, and the reason why I want to share the story is because time you can't buy. We can't buy time.
Right.
And so if you don't do something that you're passionate about and you hate your job every day, and then you tell yourself, well, I can't change. Excuse me, you can, because you're not a tree. Excuse my language, but you're not a fucking tree.
Yeah.
Okay? You can change, you can move, you can get a new job, you can better yourself and go from there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. You pointed two things out that are so crucial for people to understand. One, you mentioned the pain threshold, the threshold of pain. Humans will not change unless the pain of staying exceeds the pain of change.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that all the time
All the time.
because you are in the business of change.
Yes.
You are in the business of betterment, and that sucks.
It sucks.
It's so hard
really
for people
hard.
to overcome and to pay money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I can just go to the gym myself. I can do it myself.
Sure you can.
Sure you can. If you could, you would have done it by now.
Everybody would look like Superman.
Everybody. And everybody at the gym would look amazing. And it's one of the
Absolutely.
biggest misnomers. Oh, if you go to the gym, you must be fit. No, you can usually count on one or two hands in the entire demographic of the gym who's actually fit.
Mm-hmm.
The other people just check a box
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know what to do. They just do things.
Right.
But it's not efficient. It's not effective. It's not actually working.
Right.
And then the other thing of how important it is to have mentors.
Very important.
I had this conversation today of just understanding that you got this started because of a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And that got your whole ball rolling.
Yes.
And brought you to the point of, I want to do this for others.
Yeah.
And it's something that I do say frequently, which is money moves faster than time. They can go spend all this time to figure out what's in your brain and in all your coaches' brains, or they could just pay the really cheap price or the cheap investment to gain all that knowledge very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to my buddy, and in his world, he optimizes the inside. You optimize mostly the outside with some inside with nutrition things. He does hormones and peptides and all the internal things. He changes the oil on the car, so to speak.
Yeah.
And he told me the price, and I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter the price. Because how can you place a price on your health? How can you place a price on experience?
Mm-hmm.
You also mentioned it. You can go through life and have these experiences. The reality is you are the sum of your experiences. Are your experiences going to be at a cubicle all the time? Or are they going to be to where you can control your life? You can do what you want, when you want, who you want, with where you want, how you want.
Yeah.
And be with your kids and be with your family. It blows people's mind. My wife had this conversation with her mom the other day. She's like, what does Brad do? She's like, oh, he's in financial technologies. What does that mean? He does like stock market stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he does. He does stuff. But like, what's his day-to-day like? She's like, I don't know. Right now we're going to the indoor playground.
Yeah.
She's like, it's 1:00.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to the indoor playground right now.
Was
But
that today? Was that just today?
No, it was the
Okay.
other day, but I went yesterday too.
Yeah.
And like, well, what's his day-to-day? most days, like, we go and do stuff with the kids, and we hang out at the house, we go to the gym together, and we spend time as a family.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't understand.
Hmm.
So that's right.
And that's okay. Not
That's
not
fine.
everybody will understand you,
Yeah.
especially family. You expect them to
Yeah,
understand.
and it just won't be that way, and
They don't.
I had a very similar experience. My family has been very supportive. My dad is also an entrepreneur.
I love that.
He left corporate America. He was VP of sales for an international company, huge Fortune 100 company,
Hmm.
and he left all that to do his own thing, to spend time with his kids and to spend time with his family because he was military, then corporate, so he never was with my older siblings. He wanted to be with me. He wanted to change that for his last kid. And so he was very supportive, but I never really heard the words "I'm proud of you"
Hmm.
until I was probably a year and a half, 2 years. I'd already failed 6 companies, and I was just trying to make things happen, and then finally he walked up, he's like, "You know, I'm really proud of you. Like, what you're doing. You've taken everything I've ever known
Yeah.
and exceeded it." Because he grew up in Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Like in the 90s, Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's when he kind of started leaving corporate America. So that's when
Yeah.
he was studying that. He's like, dude, you took the principles of Rich Dad Poor Dad and you threw those so far past anything I ever did. And that was just because I was like, oh, I was at my friend's house. Like, what's your friend do? I'm like, a lot of, he's a billionaire. You're hanging out at a friend's house that's a billionaire? I doubt that. There's not that many billionaires. I'm like, I know about a dozen of them here in Utah. And yeah, I was at his house.
Hmm.
He's like, this is blowing my mind right now. Like, you actually know probably more than you think you know. They just don't tell you.
They just don't tell you. Yeah.
My wealthiest friends are the ones you would never guess
Yeah.
are the wealthiest. And the ones that are like 7-figure, they're the ones you're like, oh, they're rich, they're a millionaire because they shove in your face.
Hmm.
But my 9, 10, 11-figure friends, forget about it.
Yeah.
They'll never bring it up.
It's not their motto.
No.
It's never been their motto.
Monetary gain will be the farthest thing from their conversation because they care about true value.
Yeah.
Relationships, friendships, experiences, which you've been
Time.
mentioned, time. And this idea of money moves faster than time is so powerful.
Very powerful.
And I was like you. I was in a laboratory. No windows. 10, 12, 14, 16 hours a day. I remember hitting 20 hours a day and being like, this sucks. And how much am I get paid for this? Wow, this sucks. I mean, my original salary would have put me at like $50 an hour for an 8-hour day.
Hmm.
But what are you about at a 20-hour day?
Yeah.
Back to back to back to back. I'm like, dude, I'm doing this for literally like $15 an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dying.
When you
Dying.
add the time, right?
Because that's salary. You put it in. You put in the time.
They get you. That's where they get you.
And one thing I wanted to kind of top into as we're coming towards the end, it's a fast podcast, holy cow, is at first you had to get clients.
Mhm.
You went from paycheck to paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
very comfortable. I would actually say it's not comfortable, but familiar. And then going to client. That is a very different realm of you don't get paid until you get another client on.
Correct.
And going through that mindset and having the support of your wife is huge.
It was very huge.
I'm the
That
same
was
way.
probably one of my most difficult year for sure. I mean, you talk about hitting rock bottom, bro. Like we had, I mean, we scraped every penny. We couldn't pay our car payments, right? But the one thing that she never lost sight of, she never lost, sight of believing in me. She knew I could do it. But at the time, emotionally, right, she was like, oh my gosh, like I need you to, like maybe you should go find another job for now, like a side job or something, just at least something. But the one thing that I always say though, I mean, it's true when people say, if you want to own your own business, you gotta at least work your butt off the first at least 3 to 5 years. You have to. I mean, I had to grind leaving corporate America 5 days a week to now all of a sudden I'm working 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
But then again,
What hours do you work?
What
hours do you work? That one?
Yeah.
What hours do you work? All the hours.
All the hours.
If I'm awake.
The first year, the first year, going into my second year, it was 7 days a week, and then it turns into 6 days a week. And then slowly it turns into 5 days. And now I'm only in the office or in the gym Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's it. I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday technically off. But Monday is for my online client. So I'm working from home. To me, it's like I'm home, right? But it took me, we're going on 7 years. I'm going on 7 years coaching now, and we've owned our company. 5 years is coming Labor Day this year, 2025. And it took me almost 4 years to get to the 3-day working days.
Yeah.
And I will never go back to working more than 3 days because, one, I value my time and my family.
Mm-hmm.
And two, I can, go vacationing whenever I want. After I get off work on Thursday, I can just jet and come back Monday, So I traded a lot of time, a lot. So now all I'm thinking about is I'm not thinking about making more money because I'm already making a lot of money. I'm just buying time.
Yeah.
I'm just buying more time. So, because I know with the experiences that we have, the time, the credibility with the companies that I have right now, our prices are going to keep
rising,
right?
Yeah.
Because it's just experience,
Yeah.
and we all know that. I mean,
Oh,
and
yes.
so people want to be. I tell this all the time, like, because I mentor a lot of coaches here in Utah, and the first thing they ask me, I'm like, bro, how did you do it? I'm like, all right, you got to ask the right questions. That's a big question.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, well, how do you earn clients? How do you get clients? I'm like, okay, that's simple. I can answer that. And then I said something simple like, don't sell the program, sell your personality. Because here's the thing, there's a lot of coaches in the industry. There's a lot of trainers, for example.
Oh, yes.
So who do you want to pick? Are you just going off of credibility or maybe experiences? Cool. That works for you and that's fine. But what if you don't get along with that individual? Because you're going to spend hours with that person. Because I spend a lot of hours with my clients. One client, I spend a lot of hours, right? And so when I tell them, don't sell the program, sell your personality. So when you educate on social media, whether it's on your website, YouTube, podcast, talk to your client like a human being because they understand you. If you just spit out information and knowledge all the time, like they just think you're a robot, right?
Yeah.
We all have flaws. So when I tell people like, stop selling your program, stop telling people how great you are. Stop doing that. I've never said that. I've never sell my program. I mean, you've seen my social media. I just post educational stuff with the clients that I have conversations with. I don't really post a lot about myself either. I try not to because nobody cares about me.
Yeah.
Because I'm already living this lifestyle. I know I live this lifestyle. I know I got my meal prep correctly. My mental, emotional, everything's good. But because I'm in the service industry, right? So what am I doing with my clients? How can I elevate them from being overweight, depressed, to this optimal human being? That is where you need to dial in. And that's how you showcase your work, how you get there. It's not about just a transformation. It's not about this person has a 6-pack and can do shows. It's not about that. It's how do you get that person there?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Very much so. Make a friend and solve their problem. The end.
That's it.
We've got our first actually employee coming on, and he's going to his first mastermind training session in Miami, Florida.
Oh, sweet.
He leaves on Thursday. I'm recording this on a Tuesday. So he leaves in 2 days. This dude's from population of 80 people, Kentucky.
What?
Middle of nowhere.
What city is this?
Dude, middle of nowhere. Yeah.
Middle of nowhere.
Even people that live there don't know there. And yeah, it's from a town called Center, Kentucky.
Wow.
And I said, dude, go to this thing, learn a few things, make a few friends. The end. Like, oh, I could do that. Learn a few things, make a few friends. Cool. That's the same thing as it is in business and with entrepreneurship and in coaching. Learn a few things, make a few friends.
Mm-hmm.
You learn something, you make some friends, you teach them what you know because you're selling friendship. People buy from their friends.
That's it.
They don't buy from people they don't know.
That's it.
And if they buy from something they don't know anybody in the space. So now they're going off credibility. But if they can become friends with something, that's the power of social media.
Yeah.
Because you'd be so personable, they think they know you. Mm-hmm. They feel like they know you because they relate to you.
And 99.9% of all of our clients, with all the coaches that we have, they're all referral. All of them are. It's very few that someone found me on Google.
Yeah, found you cold.
Yeah. There's no cold leads, right? If they do, I already know. Majority of the time, if the inquiry comes in and you don't have any prefaces and coaches, and you found us on Google, I usually push them off to one of my coaches,
Yeah.
because like I know I have to sell you my program. I don't want to sell you my program. It's not what I'm here for. I'm here to educate you and give you the tools that you need
Yeah.
so you can succeed. Now, if I sit here because what happens if you find me on Google, right? And then every week you come in, and then I have to convince you why you need to do this, why you need to increase your calories, why do you need to be in a
Right.
deficit. I have to convince you every single time. And then I mean, eventually over time, you're gonna get that person to trust you. But why not work with someone that already knows you, that have the person of interest that are with us? They're sold, bro. That I don't even how. At some point, like there's so many times when I have a consultation, they're like, "All right, coach, I'm ready." I'm like, "No, hold on a sec. I know you want to give me your money, but let me tell you what we actually do. Let me tell you exactly the details and the structures of why we have such a successful company." And when they go through that process, I'm like, "You still want to do it? Because it's hard." They're like, "Yep." I'm like, "Okay, now we can go." But it's there's so many times when they walk in the room and they're like, "Hey, man, like I have money right now." I'm like, "You don't really know what I do." I'm like, "You're a coach." I'm like, "Yeah, but you don't know what I really do.
Yeah.
The blood work, all of that stuff." And they're like, "Oh." I'm like, "Yeah. This is not because we want to work with someone that is really committed and dedicated, because health is not something to mess around with." And there's a quote that I like to share. If you don't have time, if you don't have time and money for health, how do you have time for sickness?
True.
I'm like, whoa, it's true. Like, you don't think about it, because of course nobody likes to go to the gym. Nobody wants to go running. I mean, some people do, honestly.
Sick people like to
Sick
run.
people, like, yeah. But
Sick and heavy will run.
I'm just saying, like, you go to the gym, I go to the gym, but our motivation hasn't been there since years ago. We know why we go to the gym, because we know what happens if we go. And when I bring up this quote to people, I'm like, well, if you don't have time for the gym and health, how do you have time when you get sick? How do you have time when you have all this, health problems, heart problems?
Yeah.
And now you're like, and then their minds is like, holy shit,
Yeah.
you're right. I'm like, yeah. Either you pay me the money and let's work on changing your routine, your habits, and all that fun stuff, so then you can save thousands, if not hundreds of thousands down the road. Because you and I know that if we don't go to the gym, if we don't eat right, if we're not healthy, if we don't take care of our bodies, we cannot be the most optimal dad, partner, business partner.
Yeah. Yeah. My order of operation, normally people will go something of the lines of like family, faith, fitness of some sort like that. It's usually family and God at the top. And it was a lot of years ago. It's probably 2019. I've been in fitness now, 22 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until probably 5-6 years ago that I'm like, yeah, no, fitness is first.
Mm-hmm.
My health is first. I'm actually fitness, family, faith, 1, 1, 1. They're all one.
Right.
But if I had to pick one, fitness be first, because if I'm not optimized, if I'm not fulfilled, if I'm not maximum potential, I
Yes.
cannot show up for my God, and I definitely can't show up for my family.
No.
And it's so important to be able to show up as your best self, not as somebody that's barely scraping by. And it's wild to see. I've got family that, and they struggle to make it up the stairs. They can't roll on the floor with my kids.
It's hard to see that, huh?
I got an 80-pound dog that I wrestle.
Yeah.
Because when he's 120 pounds, I need him to still be able to be gentle. I got a 50 or 60-pound 5-year-old, and I got a 40-pound 3-year-old that are jumping all over me.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to see when somebody's like, I can't roll on the ground with you. I can't play with you. I can't physically wrestle. I have boys.
Mm-hmm.
You got to fight them. You got to wrestle them.
It's definitely hard to see your own family members are in that stage. And I don't say anything because they know what I do. They know what I do for a living.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They know I have knowledge, but do they ask questions? No, because they don't want to hear what I have to say. And that's the hard part.
Yeah, dude, my family asks questions and don't apply it.
They do not.
Don't apply it.
And so now my families, and even Jess's family, they don't ask me questions anymore, because they know, one, I always say this. I'm like, do you really want to answer to that question? Because I don't think you want to hear the truth. Because they want me to say, oh yeah, man, let's take this. do this.
Take this shot.
Take this thing.
And especially now that we have a shot.
Oh my God.
Take this shot.
I don't want to go there. That's a different topic. I'm gonna tell you, we can sit here for
take
hours.
that shot.
We can take hours and just talk about that. The stuff that we deal with on our end because of the mindset that came from that.
Yeah,
it's
cancer.
Horrible.
It's horrible.
It's bad. I mean, I posted a video today. Yeah, I was like, what? You give your kids these shots?
Dude, it's not good. It's not good. Well, as we wrap up this, what is one nugget, one thing that you want to share with the audience that would help them move forward? And naturally, it's going to be the first thing that comes to mind.
I have so many, bro, to be honest.
First thing that comes to mind. It's going to be the most important. That's why I came first.
Okay, so this is a good one. You are going to fail. It's okay to fail. But we failed forward, right? So in a sense, we're learning from our mistakes. Mm-hmm. But the problem with a lot of people, they're not doing the things they love because they're afraid to fail. They do not want to do something because they're like, well, what if I can't make it? What if I don't make money? What if I, whatever, right? The first step that you have to understand that you're going to fail. How many times did you fail your businesses?
6 companies.
Six companies, right?
That was like 6 companies. That wasn't how many failures.
Yeah, exactly.
Dozens of failures per company.
Exactly. I think people need to understand that you're going to fail. The second thing that I can think of is that when you grew up in this world of, you don't have any entrepreneur in your life, right? Your parents are very much like, hey, you go to college, you do this, you do that, you work for somebody, you make good money, da da da. Understand that creating your own business, it's actually not that hard. It's not difficult, depending on what kind of services you want to do.
Yeah,
it's really not that hard. It's really not that hard to create an Instagram. It's not that hard to create a website. It's not that hard to get an LLC or S corp. It's really not that hard. If you have a good product, you can sell anything, right? So because I grew up in a mindset of like, oh my God, I don't know how these people do it with all these business. And now that I have one, I'm like, wait a minute. That wasn't like, what? You know what I mean? This is cool. Like, I get so much time. It is hard work, but I get so much time. So the last piece of the puzzle that I want to share with your listeners is understand that you most likely may not have the support that you need, especially from family. If you have a really good supportive spouse, I think that's awesome. And that's all you need. Oh, yeah. If you have a supportive spouse or a close friend, if you don't have a spouse, that's all you need, because they can feed you that energy. You just got to roll with it. And the reason why I say that is because no family members are going to understand why you do what you do. Why did you leave this stable job, to do this crazy thing, whatever that thing is that you want to do. So you think you have support, but you will not have the support that you need. And my drive to that is keep pushing until you get success, whether that's a year, 3 to 4 or 5 years from now. And then that person that you think they're supportive, they're not, they're going to say, hey, Brad, how'd you do it? Mm-hmm. So keep focus on you. Don't focus on everyone else. Just keep thriving, and you're going to hit rock bottom though, right? You're going to fail. But as long as you accept that you're going to fail, and you move forward and you do better and better and better. And the next thing you know, you're at the next level. There's a quote also, sometimes making a slow move is worse than bad moves, right? Because you never turn the table. You're just sitting and waiting. No, make a decision. Do it now.
I love that. So have this conversation with your friends and family. It is the only way this show grows. We grow organically, which is the best way. So find us on social media. Where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram. Is my most active account. It's called Yo-Yo Gains with a Z in the end. Our company is called Unfinished Lifestyle. We have Instagram for that, and YouTube channel with all of our podcasts, and Spotify under Unfinished Lifestyle.
I love that. And you can find me, Mr. Brad Draper. Like this thing, subscribe to it, download it for future listenings. Until next week, we love you guys. Bye.
See ya.